Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. When I say A, you say hi. A. Now, I'm doing it the Ibadan way, so it's not AI. It's hey. Look, I'm a Yoruba boy. Let's humor me, okay? Let's do it the Ibadan way. Hey. 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 All right. So we're here, of course, to discuss AI, and it's my pleasure to be here. I I would confess that I'm not sure I have sat in the midst of such a huge amount of brain power in a while. And that's because I know a number of these gentlemen, and I've looked up the profile of others, and it could be quite intimidating. But I'll promise you, the audience, something. I like to keep things simple. So I will work with them to make sure the delivery is simple. And taking a cue just before we start from the keynote speakers, quantum computing. I'm hoping one day that we'll have quantum laptops. You know why? I asked my team to give me some data for me to play around with analytics on my laptop. And everything on my laptop is SSD, small form, microform, and all of that. But my laptops keep hanging each time I'm analyzing this data. So I had to power cycle the laptop a few times. And my laptop is not a cheap one. So it tells me that we need to move the power even closer to our devices. So maybe I need a quantum laptop. Yeah? So, and today we'll be talking about infrastructure, isn't it? And hopefully, maybe at the end of today, I will have a good idea of when my quantum laptop would arrive. So, gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to this panel. I'd like to, just for the benefit of the audience, because when I say these gentlemen here are of great profile and experience. So I have a short profile of each person, but I'll keep it a one-liner for each person. Dr. Collins is an expert in IoT systems, PCB designs, embedded systems, and development of indigenous ICT technology. He's had huge experience in private sector and governance structure in Nigeria, retired as a director in NIDA, and by the way, he speaks Russian. So if you just say something he doesn't like, we just call the boys in. Then Dr. Otoye is another space guy, in the Elon Musk kind of people space. I just wonder what they see out there, but we see some of the impact. He's a high performance computing expert, space technology expert, and a big data initiative passionate advocate. So, Dr. Otoye, we would like to hear from you as we engage. Emmanuel? Yeah. So Emmanuel is a legal expert in intellectual property, foreign investment advisory focused on health and pharmaceutical sectors with a lot of international advisory experience. Emmanuel, you're welcome. And John Igata. Would you like to, John or Igata? Igata. Okay. So Igata is has a solution that is AI powered in the health sector and drives AI sector platform with embedded system and robotics. Each of you, I'm sure, would have interesting conversation around what you do. Then, of course, Yusuf Obelo. Yusuf, right? Yusuf is also an embedded system specialist, AI in robotics, CubeSat design, and done a lot of work in education. Now, because I promised that this session will be quite interactive, and I see a large number of young people in the audience, I'd like to start with you, Yusuf. CubeSat design. What does it mean? In this session, I don't want anything to go over anybody's head. Right. So can you break it down? Because we're talking quantum computing and its impact. Of course, we'll be going to infrastructure. But just before we start, get us started.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Like you said, my name is Yusuf Bello. I'm an embedded system engineer and also the founder of Dark Robotics. So when you talk about CubeSat, We are talking about breaking down satellites, right, to a smaller form to achieve different types of needs that we want. So in regards to this CubeSat design, it was something we did early 2021. So we were part of a hackathon 2020. It was organized by NIGECOMSAT. That was where I met Dr. Agu Collins. I don't think he remember me, but I was there too. So nice to meet you. So during when we had the hackathon, so that was the first time we heard about space. One thing with us is we're very spontaneous in thinking, and we like practicalizing whatever we just pick interest on. So during that 2020 after the hackathon, I was interested in the idea of satellite. Like, okay, this is a very good field. Let me see what we can do around it. So, but if you want to develop a satellite, that would cost a lot of money that I don't think I'm going to have for some time. So we had to break it down to concept where it is actually deployable. So that's when we did research around CubeSat. And we saw that it's something that can be achieved, although not deployable yet, but we can achieve the architecture and design basically. So we said, all right, let's hop on it and see how long it will take. So normally, developing CubeSats, they take around 12 months, right? But our own was very basic. I have to put that in. It was very basic. We just did the whole design, checked the payload and the whole system to be sure that, okay, yes, we are good to go. So eventually, within 6 months, we were able to develop a CubeSat ready for launch, but no place to launch, which we hope to see sometime in the future. So yes.
Dr. Taya is listening very well, and I'm sure perhaps
I've met him too.
That's a problem he and his agency will be able to solve anytime soon, and I guarantee you it won't disappear.
We did have a conversation with, I think, NIGECOM regarding the whole CubeSat thing. They were a bit interested in it, although we didn't push further because we were working on certain research around what we could deploy in Nigeria first.
Okay. No, that's wonderful. Like I said, we would have a follow-up conversation on this, and I'm sure we want to chip in something. Right. But again, just setting the ball rolling and making sure that we're all on the same page. Again, it's part of the infrastructure. But I would like Dr. Agu to take us through a journey. I know Dr. Agu is a passionate hardware person, designing low-level design when it comes to hardware infrastructure. We've heard a lot of talk around classical computing, like my laptop, that keeps hanging when I load a lot of data, and I'm loading loads and loads of data to work offline. Now we've progressed, the world is progressed, we've progressed to high-performance computing, supercomputers, still handling classical operations, and then quantum computing. If you may, for the benefit of the audience, just talk us a little bit through those systems and some of the progress we've seen and some of the basic differences just from an infrastructure perspective so that we can educate the audience a little bit more. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, my voice. Thank you very much. But first of all, I want to congratulate my chairman here, Dr. Advance Waherem, for being able to sustain this very digital Africa conference. That's very, very commendable, and I'm quite excited that I'm seeing a lot of young people. That actually excites me, because if you're talking about indigenous content, future of Nigerian technology, I think it lies a lot on the young people. And I was quite excited with the lecture on the quantum computing given, though it was a bit disturbed. We still got a lot of information, qubits, and so on and so forth. I think it was quite educating. And a few other conferences should probably leave from what we are hearing. It should be more of a tech show than a talk show. So congratulations once more. And I say good afternoon, everybody. Now, when you talk about general computing, there's this argument we normally have. Dr. Chris Owaje is not here. So more like a chicken and egg puzzle. Which came first? Is it the chicken or the egg? So for me, I always projected hardware first. Other people project software. But I feel Nigerian ecosystem as a whole projects software more. However, from my own perspective, if we go back to ask the question, why do we count in base 10 today? By default, to have 10 digits. I feel that is where the base 10 counting started. We have 10 digits, that's how base 10 started. Then again, most have heard about the abacus. I mean, so these are some of the first analog computing devices, and these are hardware. So I believe strongly that it's actually the hardware that drives the whole digital ecosystem. Without improvements in the hardware, you cannot have robust software that can run. So, I mean, software has to run on something at the end of the day. And what's the thing? That's the hardware. Now, if you go back to history, how we had this big acceleration in technology, because most of the mankind achievement is based on microelectronics. With improvements in microelectronics, that's how we're able to go to the moon, to do a lot of achievement. So a major field started from 1948, invention of the transistor at Bell's lab. From there, we got to integrated circuit. From there, we got to the microcontroller, maybe 80, 81, and then other controllers started. From there to Pentium. And all these are possible because if you look at what we call the real estate, that is packing more transistors, just as the chairman mentioned about classical computing, where it's 1-0, and then the quantum computing, which has the superposition, that's 1-0, and then flipping of the bits and so on and so forth. So you can see that with the classical computing, the compute power now depends on the number of transistors, because transistor is the main building block of all these, all these. However, it comes with its problem like overheating, and that's why the voltages are going from TTL 5.0 volt up to 1.8 and even 0 point something. Now today we're talking about GPUs, graphic processing unit, talking about TPUs. I don't know how many of you have heard about Tensor Processing Unit by Google. They're talking about the NPUs, Neural Processing Unit, where basically we're not talking about, we're talking about AI being implemented on a chip. That is more like, almost like what we call the edge computing. So if you look at the migration pattern, we have gone really far. Today I have a Core i9 Dell computer, so you can imagine billions of transistors in it. Then let's move that to your 386 computer that was used to run Windows 98, Windows 95. So there's a lot of improvement. Now it still boils down to my arguments that without improvement in upstream ICT, which I call the hardware, there's no improvement generally in digital technology, because everything is driven by hardware. And again, this underscores why we should build more talent in upstream ICT. How many embedded programmers we have in Nigeria? How many people can design printed circuit board, which is the foundation of all electronic devices? We still have a lot of gap, and that is where the TD4Pi, where it's no longer IoT hub, I have to announce that with all pleasure. We have moved from IoT to what they call hard tech. Some of you can ChatGPT it or Google it. It's broader when you talk about hard technology. That is where you develop and produce tangible digital devices, which are major drivers of technologies. And so let me point out again. For us to have a digital sovereignty, you must be able to have certain control on your hardware. Today we use Chinese routers. We use American routers by Cisco. Who knows the undocumented features that are behind all this? Most of their cryptography is not open, what they call closed architecture. So as we talk about quantum computers and all these technologies, security comes in as well. Okay, let me just stop here. I wanted to.
Yes, I know if I let you, you would go on and on and on and on. And I promise the audience is going to be a bit simple. And even for me, I'm like, okay, this high volume numbers you're throwing. I also like to see simple transition. Okay, we're used to classical computing, normal computers, normal servers, processing normal stuff, normal phones. Okay, that's what most of us use, right? And then we've heard a lot of stories about supercomputers these days. They do pretty much the same thing that your laptop or mobile phone will do, but they do it much faster, right? And then when we get to quantum, then everything changes, right? It's qubits, no longer just bits, and entanglement, superposition, and so on and so forth. So everything changes. So the question is, are we, going back to the readiness question, are we truly, as Africans, I know you said Africans are ready, Africans, and I like that to be your opening comment, Dr. Otoye. Africans truly ready for quantum computing and then quantum AI, because now we want to merge quantum computing with AI, accelerating machine language, large language models, and so on. We are still trying to catch up with either component. Now we want to put the two in a single fusion. Are we ready? will we be able to compete and be a productive partner in this global race as Africans and as Africa?
Good afternoon, everyone. I think you've asked two questions.
Yes.
You've asked, are we ready? And are we going to compete?
Yes.
There are two different questions. Are we ready? Nobody is ever ready. So I will assume the answer is yes. Nobody is ever ready. Nobody was ready for the transistor. Are we going to compete? That's a matter of organization. We have to be organized. We have to work together. And as you know, everybody likes to be a local government area. Yeah, exactly. So that is, as far as I'm concerned, on a personal level, what we have to get rid of. Immediately we cooperate, then a lot of things become available. A lot of pathways become available to us. As per your comments on CubeSats, the NASA, the space agency, started a program in 2010 called the CANSAT to CubeSat program, which culminated in 2018 in Nigeria EduSat being launched. Yes, sir. Exactly. So we've had a long pedigree in trying to build CubeSats. Our major issue at the time was how much of the NASA's problem has always been how much of the technology can we domesticate? Because it's easy to go and procure. You can go and buy a satellite tomorrow. You can ask Elon Musk for one satellite. But how much of it are you able to procure? And that comes down to make rather than procure. And how come you can you design everything for yourself so that you can modify it to what you want, not relying on what the other person gave you. That's it.
Fantastic. I'd like to come to you now, Igata. I see that you have something on quantum. You have something in the market on quantum technology. You say it's quantum doctor platform. Is it that the doctors are quantum, or the platform is quantum, or everybody is quantum altogether? But before you speak about that, because again, there are a lot of young people in the room, and I think they will relate with you more. Now, from what Dr. Otoye said, I was just talking with Dr. Agabi before we came on stage, and we were discussing Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk, still relatively young, world richest, by far the leading icon for technology globally, and so on. But we all know his story. Grew up in Africa, studied most of his life in South Africa, only became a US citizen recently. Otherwise, for the most part, is purely an African. So if an African today is the icon of technology globally and grew up in Africa like almost all of us, I'd like you to share a bit about your background. I'm quite impressed that you're already doing something in quantum. So maybe you are our next Elon Musk. So perhaps you can inspire some of the people in the audience, you know, what prepared you for this project, and then you go on to talk about the project. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, so thank you for that question. Actually, I'll start by saying that impact is life. Impact is life. There are a lot of lack of productivity going on in the country, Nigeria and Africa at large. And when I began Quantum Innovative Technologies, it's a company that is focused on innovative technologies. And our main focus is to be there for the common Nigerian, because we have a problem. A lot of us, I was with Dr. Agui, I think yesterday, we were talking about how a lot of companies die because they try to copy first world technology to third world realities. Therefore, they are no longer making impact with people. So you see, somebody is trying to invent something that's is just existing abstractly. It does not have real implementation. So that was where we came in to bridge the gap in health sector. Today, health sector, there is this inequality that lies between the high-income earners and the low-income earners, in which the low-income earners are left disadvantaged. You see, when you go to hospitals today, you have a common experience. Where you get quality care, quality health care, is usually in private hospitals. You go to general hospitals, you see large people gather there, and then before it gets to your turn, you may have fainted. Is that not a common problem we face? So, quantum, I came up with the idea of quantum, combining, when you hear the quantum, it's talking about what? The massive power, massive processing power. And then also quantum, if you look at it from the other, it's like it has a lot of meaning. The other aspect in terms of size, quantum talks about size. A quantized size meaning what? It's small. So imagine merging massive processing power with small size. That was what gave the name Quantum Doctor. So I thought of this platform, which myself, I was a victim. At a point, I felt ill. I had ulcer, and then by the time I got to General Hospital, in fact, the ulcer was so chronic that I needed quick attention. And then because of the delay, the massive delay, I was given form to fill when I cannot even, I don't have enough strength to hold myself. I was given a form to fill. And then I need urgent attention. So imagine reducing the distance between patient and quality care. That is what we came to close the gap between what? Patient and quality care. So I thought of this platform that leverages on advanced and cutting-edge technologies like embedded systems technology, embedded sensors technology, and artificial intelligence. My background, I'm an embedded system engineer as well as an AI developer. I was part of those that built the first African humanoid robot in Unicorn. So when I started my company, Quantum Innovative Technology, we look at bridging that gap, whereby we have an AI that cares for you, not just caring for you, but cares for you down to your local dialect. So you don't have to have this advanced education in English language. You don't have to have this advanced certification. A Hausa person can make use of our platform and have healthcare diagnosis delivered to him in Hausa language. An Igbo person can also get to know even before it happens. Yes, you can have, now in AI thrives on what they call data. So data, when we merge embedded sensor and AI, is called embedded intelligence. So when we went with embedded systems, we are looking at having a device like your smart wristwatch. Even the smart wristwatch, if you look at it very well, it's not designed for Nigerians. Be honest, it's not designed for Nigerians. It's designed in English language. Yes, so, and we don't have our origin in English language. So what would a layman that has a smart wristwatch, how would he make sense of the vital science data that he's reading? He doesn't understand these things. So what if you get to a hospital that they don't understand your local dialect? So that is how, so we waste, there is no accurate record keeping. So our platform, Quantum Doctor, consumes this massive data from every patient, and then it's able to give you health tips based on your current vital signs. Each time it updates, it gives you what? Current health tips. And then we develop what the conversational AI that you can use to chat with the Quantum Doctor in your local dialect. Chat with it. Oh, Quantum Doctor, I'm having a headache, and then I don't know what is wrong with me. The Quantum Doctor will respond, be like, okay, when did this start? Okay, it started 5 days ago. Okay, have you seen a medical personnel? Have you taken medication? So it relates with you in that way. So imagine if everybody have this kind of access to ubiquitous healthcare like this. So the rate at which we frequent hospitals will be limited. So you only go to hospitals when you have emergency cases, when you have cases like surgery, when you have cases like what? Maybe pregnancy you want to deliver. So a pregnant person can know, even before it happens, whether he or she is going to have some illnesses in the future. So our main healthcare innovative idea is that we can tell you, even before it happens, that this is the chance of falling sick on Wednesday next week. So to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So you prepare ahead. So it will, because prevention is better than cure, you can less frequent hospitals by using our platform, Quantum Doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Quantum Doctor. So I'm looking forward. If you remember which bank was that said one day cars will run on water? Which bank? Bank PHP? Bank PHP, right? Yeah, so maybe someday Quantum Doctor maybe we can run on water too, or just we can run on not having money. You know, you can solve some of these problems that would make life a lot easier for us. And hopefully someday, when I say is it quantum doctor or quantum servers, you guys laugh. Now you know it's quantum doctor. You are already see into the future. So before I fall sick someday, your solution will tell me, look, the way you are going next week, you're gonna be ill, and you quickly take care of it. Like self-driving cars. That's good. Thank you so much. I would come to some legal infrastructure issues, but before I come to you, Emmanuel, I'll come back to Dr. Toyin. There's something that bothers me, and that's around the cost of technology dominance. You can't dominate in technology space without money, and it's a lot of money. The kind of money that developed countries are investing in AI alone, it's the equivalent of our GDP, right? And more. I mean, the GDP of Africa is about 3 billion plus or minus. And these guys, single countries, are investing in billions of dollars in this technology. It's near impossible to compete out of the box. Although you said something that's consoling, nobody knows. Everybody is figuring it out, which is consoling. However, you're coming from a mature technology, satellite, requires a lot of funding, and it's been cutting edge for many years, but we never really caught up. And now we've been chasing after the classical technology space and doing our bit. We have a lot of good success stories in Africa, but we're also not taking the leadership position yet. And now we are moving to quantum and the quantum money required. I mean, can Africa really fund the investment required in this space? I mean, PwC says it's going to be $15 trillion by 2030. But I'm sure the world economy, perhaps by that time, will be $500 trillion. So what does $15 trillion matter? So, but can Africa fund? Do we have the resources? Because we're struggling with satellites to dominate. How do we dominate here? What do we need to do?
Thank you. I think you should go back to the comment I made about being a local government. I think that's always our problem. We're trying to be a local government. Number two, nobody knows, and everybody is figuring it out. There is one of the people who invented the deep neural networks in Canada. He had an interview a short time ago, and he was complaining. He said it takes tens of millions of watts to train a large language model to do the simplest thing. Meanwhile, the human brain does it with 30 watts. So he has changed research direction to figure out how a brain can do better than a large language model that requires a power station of 30 megawatts to train it. Now, the funny part is that there was some success with this, because what they did was they decided to copy the nervous system of a little worm, Escherichia coli, E. coli. I think people have heard of it. So what they did was to copy the nervous system of that. They had like more than a few neurons and the rest of it. And actually they took that, embedded it into a quadcopter, and the quadcopter is the best in the world at avoiding objects. It was trained with almost nothing. So there are roots to doing things. We must be open to new ideas. As per technology, we have to work together and put money towards a goal. Now we have like 2,000 goals. Everybody comes up with his own thing, and then we are dispersing our efforts. If you notice, all the effort goes towards one thing at a time. Until we get that organizational part right, we all will have our singular individual successes here and there, and not the kind of dominance that they are looking for.
Thank you so much. You said something that just gave me a light bulb moment as well. Of course, for the audience, some of us have been around in the sector a little longer than others, isn't it? And I would like to just point out that, yes, it's true. Collaboration has led to a number of successes in tech and application, especially in fintech. The NIBS, IntoSwitch, and a number of success stories are result of industry collaboration. All the banks came together to set up NIBS, so it's not a single entity just showing up. And all the banks, well, majority of them came together to found IntoSwitch as well. So perhaps, a takeaway from this should be, as industry, how can industry look at this and also not create local governments? Because when you say local government, our minds go straight to government. Now, industries too, perhaps we need to see what we can do. But we often need government to take the lead. And Emmanuel, I'm going to pose a question to you, because in the next set of questions, we'll look at efforts being made around Africa, but specifically Nigeria, with the national AI strategy. The draft document is out, and a number of pronouncements have been made before, of course, you get into the final document. But the key issue here, and I want to take a dive into your area of expertise, investment, legal issues, and so on. Someone has made a proposition in a conversation that I was in, that perhaps for Africa to really compete in this space, we would need regional investments. Maybe a free trade zone, all West African countries, they put together sufficient funds, because one country perhaps cannot on their own put in place the infrastructure that is required. Already in tech, there is a lot of issues with intellectual property and other legal issues. AI brings a lot more complexity into it because of ethical issues. Now, how do we compound this by looking at borderless collaboration? Do we have the legal framework and all these national strategies that are being done in isolation? Is that what we need to be able to create what's the opposite of local government? Because you keep saying everybody runs a local government, right? So I don't know what, federated government maybe? Federation? Collaboration government. Okay. So what do we need to put in place? A collaboration government that would ensure we achieve success. And what legal framework will make it happen? Should we be looking to AFTA or some other thing? I don't know.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Good afternoon once again, everyone. I'll try to simplify this as much as possible. First of all, when we speak of AI infrastructure, the term looks a bit bogus. What are we really talking about? We're simply speaking of the foundational elements that support the development, the deployment, and operation of AI systems. What are these foundational, elements? You could call computational power, data storage and management facilities. My co-panelists here, they've commented majorly on these areas. We also have human resource, having a skilled workforce that can build, design, and operate these AI systems. I also heard someone speak about that over there. And finally, we have regulatory and ethical frameworks, which is what I'll be commenting on. I must say that the Nigerian government is not oblivious to the advancement of AI. You mentioned the draft policy that was introduced recently, and recently there's been increased stakeholder engagement into the discussion of AI, trying to develop a framework that can regulate the use of AI within the country. In terms of collaboration amongst various African countries, which is, like you said, what we require to actually harness the potentials that the advancement of AI brings. I think there's been some positive steps that has been taken to improve collaboration among various African countries. The Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement is one of them. I think there needs to be an increased discussions in this area. Right now, many African countries are still trying to catch up with the whole AI technology. You can't regulate what you don't understand. So that's where we are at the moment. So I think we need to, I mentioned some components of AI infrastructure. I think we need to look, single out these areas, look at them individually. When we've been able to develop our understanding of the whole concept of AI, then it will be easier for us as a continent to come together and say, okay, how do we maximize this whole aspect of technology to advance critical sectors of our economy? So what I would say is, first of all, the understanding of AI has to improve, it has to be advanced. And then when that is done, we would have a better perspective into what kind of regulatory framework do we need to develop. There are a lot of issues like data protection. I heard my co-panelist sitting close to me here, Igata, is it? He spoke about the large amount of data that their AI systems utilize. Data is actually the fuel for AI systems. And if you remember, at the initial operation of ChatGPT, they were having a lot of issues regarding the data they were using to develop their AI systems, whether these were infringing on other IP rights of certain right holders. So all these issues are things that we need to really deliberate on. Once we've been able to build a robust framework to govern the use of AI, then we can now talk of partnership among countries. We can't rush into partnership when these other foundational areas are still lacking. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. The audience wants to clap for you. So thank you so much, Emmanuel, and thank you especially also for putting some of those things in quick buckets and compartments. I'd like to come back to you, Dr. Collins Agu. You have a lot of experience around regulation and governance. And you have participated in putting together a number of these regulation documents in Nigeria yourself. And specifically around AI strategy, I know NITA, where you were, started some work around it before we now have a minister who is then taking charge and driving the process to completion. What, in your experience, okay, let me first ask the impact. What, in your experience, have been the impact of some of these policies? Do they, and strategy documents, there are a few that have made it to being acts, right? Like the data protection, and then an agency, which your colleague heads. But what, other than laws and agencies, in terms of everyday life, in terms of economic impact and outcomes, in terms of ability to compete, which is what we're looking at, what truly, in terms of innovation, somebody mentioned innovation in the audience, are those documents translating to the result we hope to see? And then I'll take the ecosystem impact with you afterwards. Thank you.
Well, thank you, moderator.
If they are not, what needs to change so that we see the real impact?
Well, moderator, this is the kind of question I don't like answering, responding to, because it's a highly administrative and political question. But the good thing is that I'm out of the government now, so I can easily say my mind, and I'll be brutally frank. Okay, we have a country with so much potential at the same time, so many challenges we have here. One of our greatest negative stakeholders in Nigeria is the issue of security right now. ICT is a pervasive technology. It is an enabler and also a core industry. It is every field, it is used to solve problems. So the first thing we should be thinking of, even before start going to regulation, whatever, how far have we utilized ICT to solve some of our challenges? How many pilot projects has the ministry championed that is pointed towards security, insurgency resolution, pointed towards natural disaster, pointing towards food security, and so on and so forth? You see, I don't believe in too many paperwork. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in bureaucracy. And that is what is killing us. Somebody just mentioned, the last speaker mentioned, we try to catch up with technology. That's a fact. You know, it's far, far ahead of you. So do you want to stifle it, or you try to encourage the ecosystem, and then maybe you can issue out what they call a white paper, work with the industry ahead of you? Because the fact is this: most of us in the government don't know as much as the private sector. And then most of us in the government, they organize a committee, not like somebody mentioned Kakaki, I'm so sorry. You just mentioned if you don't want something to work, form a committee. I think you mentioned me. Exactly, it happened. So what I believe that in as much as this need to create a kind of, they need to sanitize an ecosystem so we can have standards, I believe that we should not overflog it, okay? We should be talking about direct intervention using technology. At the same time, we should be talking about the digitization of technology. Very, very key. You know, for me is that, yes, NIDA started the National Center for AI and Robotics. So the question which we're asking NIDA, how far have you tried with the center? How many problems of Nigeria has that center really solved with indigenous content? You know, there's a difference between adoption and adaptation. This is a process. Yes, you adopt first, but adaptation is key. That is when you have digital sovereignty. You don't be enslaved and you can control when it comes to issues of security. So for me, it's a 50-50 situation here. We have done some documentation. We need that collaboration with the ministry, which is very key. Not quite long, the ministry organized Nigerian and diaspora's experts on AI to come together here to brainstorm, you know, come up with a document and so on and so forth. But the issue, was that really necessary? How much did that cost the taxpayer? Do we have a way we could have channeled such funds and scaled it down? You know, I have to say openly in my mind anyway. I think we are in the midst of economic recession and so many challenges. And this is the time we have to do high prioritization of our activities within Nigeria, which is very, very key. Now, just to contribute to some of what my colleagues have mentioned. You know, the major key player here when you talk about all these beautiful names, all this beautiful technology is energy infrastructure. You know, we've not really spoken about infrastructure, so since we've been discussing here, and I think it's one of the main themes here. We need to think out of the box. We have high insolation in this part of the world, almost at 0 degrees, okay? So I don't think the government has enough, yeah, we may have it on paper, but that drive is not there. How have we been able to harness this installation? By creating solar farms on our ministry. You go to the secretariat, the whole up is empty. Why can't you create a solar farm in such a way that the PCHTM becomes a backup, while the solar becomes the real one? Not quite long in TD4 had take up, we deployed we deployed almost a 15 kilowatt solar panel. We're completely off grid. Just not expensive. We did the design. And as I speak with you today, we're completely off grid there. So if you don't have energy system, how can you drive this technology? If you don't have energy system, how do you drive your base stations for connectivity? How do you drive your data center that has all this cloud computing infrastructure within it? So it's a problem. So the first thing, we have to really, look at our own unique challenges. And so first is the energy. So the government has to promote more of energy infrastructure, remove the duties on renewable energy devices coming here, equipment, make it zero duty for solar panels, 0 duty for batteries, lithium-ion batteries, and so on and so forth. Not only that, standard organization must wake up and certify all those products coming in to avoid substandard products, because it's a big issue when it comes to real batteries here and also real solar panels. From there, we can start talking about other things that comes with it. Energy is something that we need to solve here. We're talking about cloud computing. How do I connect from my village to maybe Galaxy backbone data center when I don't have electricity? It doesn't work that way. So these are some of the things we need to look at. So the policies have worked, but I feel that we're overshooting out too many documentation, not actually applying this core technology to solve a problem. Let's throw out regional competition. Simple. Throw out regional competition, kidnapping every day. We have done the verification of numbers. We have done so many things, and it is still happening. So the big question, how can we use ICT to solve it? Through our regional competition to the academia, to individuals, to the makers community, makers space, to don't joke with them, computer villages and so. We have people that didn't go through the formal higher institution, but have a lot of talent. I think that should be some of the things we should be discussing now, and that is what the government should be thinking of. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Dr. Collins, you know, I was congratulating you on your first retirement, and we were discussing the second, right? I already told you that you will still serve the country and perhaps get a second retirement. So the case is made. I'm sure very soon they will call you to solve some of these problems you have identified. Yeah, definitely. We are blessed to have people like you serve the country, and we would like to see the impact. And I do agree with you. You know, the jewel of the Nigerian economy in most parts has been ICT, right? In terms of returns under the services sector and all of that. But last year, the sector posted a loss, isn't it? Almost all of them, MTN, everybody, yeah? And the greatest component is power, isn't it? Because you talked about power, their biggest cost component, you know. So yes, perhaps it's something the ministry needs to look at and solve. But we would like to take on another, Igata, I'd like to take on another, you wanted to say something? No, sorry. Okay, I'd like to take on another component of the infrastructure, the human infrastructure. We in Nigerians were quite familiar with the concept of hubs. Everybody know hubs everywhere. When we want to talk about infrastructure, we all default to hubs. And being a young person yourself, you participated in competition, you have experience in some of these facilities. The way the ecosystem of people and connected centers, he talked about the AI and Robotics Center for NITDA. Yes. The ones we have, what changes do we need to see in order to better prepare young people to take advantage of the quantum component of fourth industrial revolution and indeed quantum AI? You've accessed some of them. I'm sure there are some challenges, things that need to change for us to have better results.
So I've always had one issue with digital skill acquisition in Nigeria. We don't understand the tech. We only scratch the surface. We've never gone to the middle. If we understand the tech, there would have been a lot of innovation or inventions coming in. You cannot innovate what you do not understand. That has been the case for long. That's why we don't see. There was robotics, there was embedded system, now there's AI. What significant product has come out of it? We've just been replicating. What we do is replicate. You go online, you see something, you replicate, and then you say, okay, I'm doing tech. No, you're not doing tech. We don't understand it. We would have not developed the CubeSat if we did not understand the tech. Same thing is, there was something that was, I think last year, I went for an exhibition at Afritex. So there was something we were working on, a robot that was meant for education. It was supposed to simulate or bridge the gap between science subject and theory, because that's one of the issues we have in Nigerian education. It's majorly theory, right? So I was presenting this to the audience, and one of the audience said, "This is not possible." But I have the product. I'm showing you. This is it. But they still don't understand the tech. That's the thing. They don't understand the tech. Even quantum AI, I think I first introduced myself to it in 2018. Quantum computing, sorry. So I was doing research on quantum physics. And then I stumbled upon quantum computing. I was like, oh, wow, what's this? And then I had this whole entanglement. I was like, is this magic or something? If for those of you that have not done quantum computing, please do your research. It sounds like magic. That's the first impression I had of it. I was like, what's this? So fast forward to 2024, we are now talking about AI. I don't think we understand AI. And then the problems it can solve in Nigeria, they are very, very much. And when it comes to security, Nigerian criminals are dumb. They are dumb. So the small, if you use tech, a little bit of tech would solve those issues. So we do research. I've been doing research, but my research is not based in Nigeria. Like, I don't think of the problem in Nigeria because I don't think they want some problems to be solved. So yes, in fact, the educational robot we are working on, the thing is on a pause. But when we presented that same tech internationally, we had a lot of contacts. African countries, they were like, please, when you're ready to learn this, we would like to engage you. They understand the tech. I think if anything, other African countries understand the tech more than we Nigerians. We don't understand the tech. We just, once there's a new tech, okay, well, let's go and do something about it. Look at quantum computing now. We're talking about it. Not a lot of people know about it. And we're talking about quantum computing in AI. We don't even understand AI very well. So are we going to say, okay, yes, we want to make it? What's quantum computing? What? Please, anybody on the audience, what do you understand? With the whole conversation, what do you think is the product of quantum computing? It's the hardware. It's the computer that's supposed to process AI models and data. But we don't even understand AI very well. Let me give you an example. This is an open idea. Maybe some of you are into tech. You can pick it up. So when it comes to the security aspect of AI, I'm not that into AI, but I do research on AI. Let's talk about generative AI. If you look at what's happening in generative AI, they always look at AI pictures. Some of you have used it. So they look at AI pictures. But let's look at generative AI in the security sector. So let's say I'm trying to identify a criminal. Generative AI has made that so easy, but we don't see anybody using that. A mere description, you could be given description, and the AI itself will recreate a model of this. This is a solution to security. When it comes to identifying criminals, it's very easy. It is very, very easy to do that. Now, implement generative AI to computer vision. And then you have a situation where, okay, as I am busy explaining what I'm looking for, and I have a computer vision camera around the country, different sectors, it can be able to identify that, that person on the go. This is happening live. But we don't even see something like that. We don't understand the tech. We've never understood the tech. That's why we're still where we are. And we've not done significant progress. Yes, we have facilities, like you said, hubs and all the rest, but hubs don't do anything to us. What we want is research. There is no research. ChatGPT started, if I'm not wrong, somewhere between 2014 and 2018 on a research level. But it was deployed, how many years ago? Was it not just 2-3 years ago that ChatGPT was deployed and everybody was started using it? They were working on research. CubeSat was a result of research from Cal Poly. Everything has to do with research. Even the regulations that are being set now in AI, I don't think they know what they are doing. I want to be bold to say that they don't know what they are doing. If you put regulation on what you don't understand, I can bypass it.
Glamorous work, because that's what they see on TV, sitting there anytime the big people come. We have to change that mindset. I don't know how it will be done, but it has to change. All over the country, public-private sector is the same issue. We are after the glamour and not actually putting things in place to do actual work. If you ask people now, how many of them have actually trained a large language model in Nigeria? You won't get anybody. But if you want to train a large language, you have to do that. 400 million parameter large language, have you done it in Nigeria? No, but we keep on talking about it. Yet we want the large language to speak Tiv and Yoruba. How? That means that Google is going to have to do it for us. And that, as my colleague here has said, your digital sovereignty goes down the drain. I would like to end with a word of caution. There was, a few months ago, there was a cut of a undersea cable in Egypt. And you couldn't, no bank could work in Nigeria. This is Egypt. That means we don't have an internal intranet. We don't have a LAN. So if I want to use my bank app, it first has to go to Europe first before it comes back. Now, everybody started laughing because it's done. So those are the things we need to fix. They are not glamorous, but we are going to have to do that.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much. Dr. Collins.
1, 2. Thank you. What I'm about to say, I don't feel like repeating myself always, but we have to be more realistic. So we're talking about AI now, and AI has a lot of dangers in it. Okay. Now, if you're not in control in those trust area, or what I call the drivers of AI, you're a slave. You become a digital slave. The first dangerous component of AI is what they call the algorithm. People that develop the algorithm, what they call the algorithmists, they have the power. So you could actually train a biased AI, for example, in financial profiling in Western countries, maybe come to collect loan. They may put your son in, if he has 3 vowels, is it vowels? Oh, vowels, that means he's a foreigner or whatever. So they could actually program it to be biased. So that underlines why we should build skills and capabilities when it comes to AI, not just being consumers. We should also know how to do adaptation. I keep using that word. Adaptation of that technology to suit our peculiarities. Then number 2 is the compute power. Today, due to the, I mentioned previously, due to enhancements in maybe process technology, I think today we're talking about a 3 nanometer process technology today by, I think, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. They're achieving already 3 nanometers. So that means that semiconductors become more powerful because more transistors are packed, they have muscles and so on and so forth. So we should also start building capabilities there. Yeah, we may not have a fab, but there's what we call chip designers, people that can do ASIC, okay, or large-scale integration. We should start building capacity of people that can design that chip. Indians are doing it, Russians are doing it. They can have a public fab like in Belgium. Even in Belarus, they have a 16 nanometer lab where you can push some of those chips to be manufactured. Then again, data set, big data drives AI. Analytics has to be done, but the big question is how do you get a reliable data set to be fed into an AI system? Because in computer science, it's garbage in, garbage out. That is where another technology comes in, which is actually trendy. It's so dynamic. So today we have a fusion of Internet of Things and artificial intelligence called artificial intelligence of things. So that is where IoT comes in. So in as much as you keep mentioning AI, the other components that form the drivers. Another area is your cloud computing platform now. Our data centers are very, very strategic. Today, we don't need to own on-premises servers. That has cut down the cost of owning technology and also utilizing technology. All technology most of them goes to the data center, they run there. However, as I mentioned previously, 2 major challenges, power and connectivity. This area the government has to pay a very good attention to. Then we have to be careful. At TD for Power Hard Tech Hub, we bought Starlink. We are using Starlink, and it's magical. They don't pay me, I'm not marketing for them, but at the same time, I'm crying. Where is this revenue going to? What is the value extraction for Nigerians when we deploy foreign internet? Now, when we eventually get dependent on these people, and Americans switch it off due to 1 or 2 international scandals, we're in the dark. So that's where digital sovereignty comes in. In as much as we're enjoying it, the government must up their game on how to support companies like NatComSat, Galaxy Backbone, Main1, all these cable companies should also be able. Let me be honest with you. If I had my way, there's no way I would have approved Starlink to enter. Americans protect their markets as well. Farmers get subsidy. Can you export your product to Europe today, agricultural? Can we export to US? So why do you have open doors for everything to come into here? Can't we have, just someone was mentioning about Africa, can't we come together and have our own? Okay, sorry.
Collins, thank you. You're going back to continue the work you started in government. We need to figure out which agency it will be. Maybe it's the new National Center for AI. There's some agency being proposed in. Whatever. Maybe we'll do presidency there. Please, large language models. I was thinking about it by 2020. When is the next election? 2023 was one. 8 years will be 2031, right? No, the next one is 2027. But I think by 2031, the election probably will be driven by AI. Politicians will be able to go to every village. How many languages in Nigeria? 400 and 600 and something. So you'll be able to speak to every group in their language because you have real-time language model translating to every Nigerian language. But Google won't do that for us. So you have an 8 years, again, a public idea like you did, right? I'm sharing mine now. So somebody needs to do that and tell the politicians so that in 8 years when you are campaigning, I know in Edo State they were accusing some of the politicians that they can't speak the language of their village and that nobody will vote for them as a result. You know, so maybe this is how we need to explain it to politicians so that they will understand the import of what we're saying. But over to you, please, closing remark.
Okay, so I would like to close with a proposed solution to increase productivity in our tech sector. So one thing the government has issue with is funding. They like funding, but they don't see results with the funding. So I'll propose an idea to them. I don't know if they are here, but if you are here, or if anybody that knows them, that has access to them, please tell them. So why don't we have research facilities where experts come, startups. If you are able to develop a product out of your research, there's a result out of your research, you get funded. That would yield productivity in our sector. We will be seeing product, things that we can use to measure our economical impact, not what we have now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, panelists, gentlemen. I would like to, we'll take 2 questions, maybe 3, from the audience. Norma, how many questions can you accord to us? We have 6 hands up already. Do we take all? Do we call them forward? Are they sending the questions forward? Are we taking microphones to them? Okay, so how many do we take and what's the modality? 2 questions. So could you? Okay, one male, one female. Okay, I don't see any female.
I think what we can do is, because of the timing, we can only accommodate 2 questions because we have another panel session coming up immediately. However, for those of you who are not following us on social media, this is an opportunity to do that now. So whatever questions you have, you can send it to us via email or via social media, and we'll publicize it on the social media page. I think that is a good way to respond, right? Does that work for everybody? Does that work for everybody? Sorry?
Yeah, we will answer the question, tag you, yes, and with the response.
So if you ask your question if you send us a question, we'll answer the question and tag you on it. Does that work for everybody? So I think I'll give Dr. Niro as one person to answer from that side, to ask question.
Mine is not a question. Mine is not question, but a challenge. I've listened to all the panelists, but it's like we are not ready to take the bull by the horn. I'm a typical example, right? How many people among us have actually taken all these our complaints to government? We shouldn't assume that they know everything. No. Government doesn't know anything. Without you, they cannot perform. Dr. Agu is here. Dr. Agu, can you tell people how many number of times I've entered into NIDA office because of one thing? For us today to have a national digital literacy framework, it took me 11 years going there every day. For education now to embrace that, we need to integrate digital literacy into all levels of education, it took me 13 years. Yes, because if you don't do it, you continue to lament. Please, we all have genuine reasons why we should collaborate with government. If you don't collaborate with government, the problem will continue to persist. And in area of collaboration, many of us still want to continue to have that status of I'm the chief executive. I am the owner of my business. No. Setipos sent something to me to be deployed in Sierra Leone. And I realized that, how will I be going? There's need for me to look for somebody in Sierra Leone, a company. We collaborated. And we dusted the likes of Deloitte, KPMG, and all these big names that went alone. So it depends on the way you want things done. But sincerely speaking, we should not leave the government alone. I've been to ECOWAS, I've been to African Union. World Bank will continue to lament that Nigerians are not coming forward as individuals to tell them their problems, the problem of the country. Please, we should not assume. Igata, right? sincerely speaking, you need to work with government. I work with government. I don't receive any cover from them, but we are making serious impact on Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Sorry, would they give us an
Okay,
audience?
sorry, I wanted to just chip in something. My startup is we among the 45 AI startups that was awarded 5 million naira by the federal government. So somehow we are working with the government, but my advice is don't wait for government, start working now.
Okay, so
Second
finally,
person, please.
We have a female hand there.
Okay,
Please, can you join me here to ask a question? Female, yes, your hand was up now. No, please come this way. Please, can we applaud her?
Good afternoon. My question is a very simple one for Yusuf and Igata, or any of you. Give me an example of where deep research has been done within Africa to solve some of the problems that exist on the African continent. And then how we can, of course, based on that, maybe touch base with some of these countries and figure out how we can replicate that in Nigeria.
Okay, let me just get you straight forward. Aside my startup, you're saying what other startups, or let me get you.
Okay, so the question is, I think, Yusuf, I think you mentioned in your remarks that we need to do deep research to actually come up with impactful solutions, not to replicate the technologies that are out there in the West. So what I'm saying is within the African continent, can you give me examples? Do you have any examples of where such has been done to solve deep, impactful problems? And then we can then, of course, perhaps work with some of these African countries, replicate that in Nigeria as well.
Well, I don't actually know any, but my company, what we do is research, right? But I don't know anyone that's involved with that. But what we want is a collaboration between experts and the government to run research, deep research that would yield results. I'm result driven. I like working to see what I'm working for. I like seeing the results. But I don't know if there's any, but so I think you would know more if there are any research facility around the African sector. But I believe we can create one. There's already facilities available, but we can convert those facilities into research facilities to give us better results. Let's start thinking results wise.
Okay, I think I know a hub like TD4Pi Hub is one of the startups that is really into research. Like I have been there. I did my NYSC there, and that was where I got background of embedded system engineering. It was serious research alongside with Dr. Agu. So he was my mentor in embedded systems engineering before I left the hub. And then some times back, I stumbled on this app, Plantix, on Google Play Store. You can check it, Plantix. It's an application that uses artificial intelligence, particularly convolutional neural networks in computer vision to identify plant disease by taking their pictures. So it analyzes patterns in the leaves of the plant and then comes up with the peculiarities to that. So at least with this now, the farmers can know the carbon nitrogen ratio and also can have more knowledge about their crops. So these are the few startups that are doing a lot, like solving peculiar problem based on research. So research is actually to go and identify problem. Then when you identify problem, you research on ways to solve it. It can be using foreign technologies if you don't have the capacity to innovate at that point. But don't settle for foreign technologies. Try to adapt the technology to the problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Agu and then Dr. Otoye want to also chip in on the research. Yeah.
This is actually an interesting question, which is very, very important. And actually, we advise that maybe at the end of the day, we should have a task or like a project in line with some of the challenges in Nigeria, which maybe doctor can give us as a research, so that the next Digital Nigeria can be a reporting of the value extraction from this wonderful conference. So thank you for that question. I've been using the word adaptation of technology because that's the only way technology can be sustainable in this part of the world. One of our challenges in Nigeria is the security, what we call impersonation of security personnel and armed forces. Just as John mentioned, I'm the founder of TD4Pi Hardtech Top, where there's an application we came up with. I'm forced to say it here. It's called the Chopota application. So it can detect fake police people using maybe through the ID card. And guess what? It is real-time on the spot authentication. It doesn't need connectivity to a back end or whatever. Everything is done on the spot using what they call AIDC technology, auto ID and data capture. So maybe if you want to learn more about it, you can come to TD4Pi Hardtech Hub in Kuje. That's one. Then number two, if you look at 17 SDGs, to me, UNO has solved most of the developing world's development economics problem by just summarizing it to 17 points. So we look at those 17 points, which are challenges of the third world, and each of them you're solving, adding value. You know, you're improving the socioeconomic status of the citizens. So we have a solution that actually monitors water remotely, like some of your mechanical water that in villages. There's no way people can actually do M&E, monitoring and evaluation, knowing the performance. But today in TD4Pi, we have embedded IoT into making it smart, so we can know how much water you're pumping, and so on and so forth. Then again, energy system.
Let's stop there, Dr. I know you will go on and on and on. Please. A minute, please, so we can wrap up.
Yes. What I want to say, the answer to your question is simple. Yes, research does go on. One, in the areas of security, you have research being done, which the military use, which we can't talk about, so forget about that one. The other one is goes to his topic of Plantix. We actually had a total of 3 satellites which use the same technology Plantix does. It combines both red and near-infrared light to be able to tell whether a plant is healthy or not. That's what it does. The problem was it was proprietary technology belonging to other people. And we spent 10 years, I personally spent 10 years disassembling it without them knowing.
Wow.
Yeah, with a bunch of students starting from OAU, IFE down, we figured out how to disassemble what they were doing. We have had a group of people. But see, most of that work is, as I said, not glamorous, under the surface. Before you get it to the point where you start using it, it takes time. Technology development takes time. So before we take the software we've developed in both C and Python and put it onto a project and the rest, then you say, oh, you don't think that Nigeria can develop something like that? It will be about October. Listen, we're making 14 years since the project started. But you won't hear about it until it comes out.
All right. Thank you very much. I would like to save time. I'll just thank the panelists and the audience for the question. And in closing, I would just like to say that, yes, we've had a lot of talk around quantum computing and quantum AI and its impact. We've looked at classical computers and my laptop, which I have to, I was hoping somebody would say something about quantum laptops. I didn't hear that, but we'll get there. And of course, impact, research, progress, and all the good things, and a number of initiatives we've identified and challenges thrown at Digital Africa. I'd like to thank you so much for your time. It's been my privilege to be on the panel asking questions from this great gentleman, and I know that my 30 watts brain, right, can do a lot more analysis going forward. So thank you. We look forward. We have 2 more panels to have, and 1 more, and I'll be here again to continue the conversation. Thank you, gentlemen.
Please, let's appreciate them, please. Doctor, please, can you join them on the stage so we can have a quick picture? Please, let's appreciate. We are clapping as if we do not enjoy the conversation. And then for those of us who have been so excited about Mr. Johnny Gatta's product, he's going to be here tomorrow to make a demo for us, demo presentation. So I will encourage you all to be here early tomorrow. We're starting very early at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So please be here because we're going to be starting with Mr. John and his demo presentation on his product as the Quantum Doctor. Please, before you move, Dr. Bayero, Dr. Niro, Mr. Abiodun, please can you join them on stage to take the picture as well? Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, let's appreciate them again. Before the next panel starts, we have a short video by our charity partner, ActionAid. So we're going to be showing you a short 4-minute video. Now, on the questions, please, we're also going to show our social media handle. You can email your questions to us or send us your questions on social media.